Hello, 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 YouTube. How are you guys doing? Welcome back for our final episode of Real Talk Therapy for the week. It's your girl Ebony. Thank you so much for being with us this week. Hope you guys have had a pretty good week. And so, as you probably can tell, today we're on or in a different setting, different vibe, but we are closing out the week and we're ending up going through back to basics, back to those things that helped us to set boundaries as we grow and go through our growing pains, going through the different stages of, from elementary up to late adulthood is where we're going to be ending up today. And so we'll go ahead and get started, get into it, because I'm very, very anxious to start my weekend, and I know you guys are ready to start yours too. So pardon the lighting. Trying to kind of get into a space in an ambiance where we're not disturbed, but bear with me today. Today's shirt, if you can see it, and if not, we will definitely take a picture and post it. But today's shirt says, "The coming of age is golden." And then you have Real Talk Therapy 101 slanted. Because now we are getting into that time of our lives where we've worked, we've gone to school, we've developed friendships, relationships, we've kind of gotten where we want to be in life and what we've done with the majority of our life in middle adulthood. And so now we're into our late adulthood. And, so before we go any further, our Coach bag for the day is another fanny pack. Of course, you see it's the fatigue, matches the shirt. Let me get it off here. I gotta let y'all see. Let's see what we got going on. So that's what we're using as we travel today. And our shoes of choice are Air Max, and they're the olive green to match the shirt. So forgive me for going out of order just a little bit, but I was so anxious to get to this part of our discussion and where we are ending this thing with back to basics, growing pains, and setting our boundaries. So now we've reached the tender age of 65 and older. And if you can remember yesterday, I said those are what I consider to be your golden years. And so you think about the Golden Girls, and you think about, your grandparents, and some of you may have parents that are in this age range. But at this point, you have pretty much kind of settled in whatever relationship you were going to have. You've developed your friends, your forever friends, you've got your family, and you are still continuing to learn how to set these boundaries around those things of your life. And so I can't speak on those years from experience because I haven't made it there yet. So I can only talk about it from the things that I've observed, the people that I've worked with that are in that age range, and some of the studies that I've completed at this point. And one of the biggest things about transitioning to that age is that when you get older, you start losing the ability to do a lot of the things that you were able to do when you came into this world. And so we know in order to get, like I said, everything that prepared us to go to primary school was done at home from when we were born up until the point of us going to school and interacting with others outside of our house. And so I look at the golden years as a transitioning back to basics of when we were born, somebody had to feed us. Somebody had to clothe us. Somebody had to take care of us. We had to, depend on other people to take care of us. And as we get into those golden years, and if you're blessed to make it and live it, through that time, you start, losing the ability to be so independent, and you become dependent again. But you've lived through all this stuff that we've talked about all week. And so now, when you come into the world and you're a baby, you don't know nothing. You have to be taught everything. You have to be, trained and brought up and guided and reared and, nurtured into everything. But as an adult or an adult in late adulthood, you have now come to what we call being set in your ways. You'll hear people say, I'm set in my ways. This is how I do it. I ain't trying to do it no other way. But the truth of the matter is, even in late adulthood, you may have earned the right to say whatever's on your mind and not be tactful or anything like that, but you still have to follow the basic laws of the land. You're not exempt just because you're a senior or you've reached that golden age. Rules still apply to you, and you still have to know how to carry yourself around people, and you still have to set your boundaries around how you're going to have people carry themselves around you. Just this week alone, I was encountered with different things from some colleagues and some friends my age that were having difficulties working with some older people that are in late adulthood. And my advice to them was this, because the comment was made, she's old, she's mean, she don't care what she say, she hurt feelings, and I'm just the worst person in the world. Well, it's not that it's anything to do with you. You have to think about how this individual who's in late adulthood now, who doesn't even realize that they are initially preparing for transition out of this world, and now they are having to become dependent again for things that they were able to do for themselves. And when they can't do it, it's not that they're mean and they don't care or any of that stuff. They are irritated, they're frustrated, and nobody understands but their group of people in a late adulthood that's going through the same things. There's no way that we could understand needing to have a cane to walk unless we break our leg or get in an accident or, we get a sickness and then we have to use it at an early age. But there's no way we can understand what it is to have to have somebody to help you go to the bathroom if you're able to do that, or have to depend on somebody to make your meals for you if you were accustomed to making your meals for yourself. I'm mad at you. I'm frustrated at where I am in life, and it's so hard for an independent person to revert back or regress back to being dependent. And then what if they don't have anybody that they really trust and believe to be dependent on to take care of their needs the way that they have been doing it all through, being born to primary to middle school to high school to middle adulthood. I've been doing it and now I can't, and I don't know how to accept that. And that's why for our golden year or our late adulthood individuals that we come into contact with, it's so important for their mental health, for them to just talk to somebody. And in the clinical world, that's called outpatient therapy or outpatient treatment. And I like to explain it to that group of individuals that I work with as, hey, I'm gonna come by here, or you're gonna come to the office, or I'm gonna call you and we're gonna talk for 1 hour every week about what you had going on. We're just gonna have a conversation. Because they may not be able to relate to their loved ones how they feel. Because you got to remember, they have always been able to do these things, and they've been, at this tier in other people's eyes. And for them to become dependent is a lot of stress and strain that they've never had to deal with before. And now they're in some uncharted waters because they've mastered everything else. They figured out how to pedal through everything else. And now they're in this new phase in their lives, and they simply do not know what to do, how to do it. And remember, we talked about pride. If I'm prideful, I'm never going to ask for help. If I can't get up out the bed and operate on my own, I'm going to fall on the floor and lay there until I can get up, because I'm too prideful to say my limbs are weak now, I need a little assistance. And even if the golden age era or the late adulthood era, you're dealing with someone who relies a lot on their higher power at this point in their lives, we still have to figure out ways to let them know that faith without works is dead. So you can call on Jesus. We want you to call on Jesus or Allah or Buddha or whomever your higher power may be. You still have your faith, but there are things that you still have to do. You still have to do it. And even if it means becoming dependent on others at this stage in your life. Jay-Z has an album, and it's called The Coming of Age 2. And I love that album. There's a couple of songs on there that I love. And one of them is, I can't think of the actual, and it might be Coming of Age is the name of the song. But it's him and Myth Blink, and they're having this conversation through the form of rap about how they were friends, but how they really think about each other in their mind. And the lyrics are crazy. I love the song, but the one that relates to the coming of age is he starts out saying, it's time to come up, hold my own weight. It's time to lock this down. It's time. At this age, you don't want to be out here trying to work no job. Disability is an option, Social Security. You get some perks that you ain't never get to get before because you've reached this age. You become, in a sense, entitled to some things in your life that were not available to you prior to, because these things are set in place to make life easier for you, because it's now kind of going back to where you started. Remember, there's nothing new under the sun, and you have daycares for babies, nursing homes and retirement homes for seniors who can't care for themselves or don't need to be alone, or you have personal care services that can be put in place for seniors to come in for a few hours and help them out with the little things that they need. But it's so important that even as a therapist that's working with them or a QP or whatever, working with them, it's so important that you continue to nurture their sense of independence, and anything that they can do for themselves, allow them to do it. Get out their way, because if you don't, they're going to tell you to get out their way. Then you're going to be walking around here saying that your feelings are hurt. And when you're dealing with our elders, you have to respect your elders. You have to. They've paved the way for you to be in your uncharted water to get to where you're trying to get to. I used to not want to get older. I used to feel like, oh God, I don't want to get older. I want to stay 20 forever. I want to do this forever. Now I'm looking forward to that, because people are leaving this place way younger than me. It used to be that children would bury their parents. Parents are having to bury children. And it's heartbreaking and it's sad. But at the same token, we have to teach our youth to respect their elders. You have to pay homage in some form or fashion, because one day it's going to be you. And you do not want the disrespect or what you didn't do or how you treated people to come back on you when it's your turn for the generation under you to pay homage to you. So in that particular song, Jay-Z and Memphis Bleak are going back and forth. Now, they're cool, they're friends, but in their mind, they feel a certain kind of way about one another. And so when you get to this age in late adulthood, you might present yourself a certain way, but be thinking a whole nother way. And before you know it, what you're thinking gonna come out your mouth. And then now, you have to be mindful too, that in this day and age and in this era and where you are, you haven't earned the right to disrespect anybody. You can't just go out here willy-nilly now. But you can give advice, and you can say what's on your mind, and you can express how you feel. But you also have to learn to understand that things are put in place to help you and not hurt you. And then we have to be able to let them know that, so that they can feel comfortable and feel okay. It's not an easy transition to have to go from not being able to do something for yourself to needing someone to do it for you. And so as I've been sharing, all week, personal experiences, and like I said, I can't go into the coming of age era because I hadn't got there yet. I'm still in middle adulthood. I had about 20 more years in these uncharted waters. But I had surgery back in 2021, And the type of surgery that I had, there were some things that I was unable to do for myself. And I had to rely heavily on my helpmate, my husband, my other half. There were some things that he had to do for me that he had never had to do for me. Because as long as we had been together, I was able to do those things for myself. I was able to get up out of the bed on my own. I was able to shower and groom and do those things on my own. But during that post-op phase, I couldn't do it. So I had to rely on and trust that he was going to take care of me just as I would take care of me if I didn't have to depend on somebody else to do it for me. I had to depend on people to, bring me meals and check on me and things like that whenever he got ready to, go back to work. He was able to stay home a little bit with me. And then I had to depend on the doctors with the aftercare. I had to depend on, taking it slow, not rushing back into stuff. I had to learn how to sit down and depend on the healing process so that I could be okay and be on here having real talk conversations with you today, And it was a hard transition because up until that point, I was very independent. I got it. I can do it. And, it was only for a couple of weeks, but you got to remember in this golden age, the older we get, the more things get away from us. Like today, I'm sitting here, doing today's session without my help, y'all. My glasses somewhere in one of my bags somewhere. So I don't know, but I'm winging it. I'm doing it. We're having it. But in order for me to see, I have to put my glasses on at some point to read and to do stuff. I mean, I'm recognizing now I have to rely on those things. My vision is not what it used to be 20 years ago. Took a drive, and I used to be able to drive. Man, I drove from North Carolina to Alabama one time. I think that was the longest that I drove by myself. And even though I took breaks, it was a long drive, but I didn't have to stop, go to the bathroom, stretch my legs, man, this trip here, you gotta get out and stretch. You gotta, you gotta recognize where you are in life and set your boundaries, set your rules and regulations about how and who and what you're going to deal with and how you're going to do it within the confines of being respectful and courteous to others, especially if they aren't doing anything to try to hurt you or, put you in a bad situation or what have you. But you have to be able to do that. And do it in a respectful manner to the point where you aren't, hurting anybody else and you're not putting yourself in a position to be hurt. But for those of us who haven't made it there, we have to learn to be a little more patient. You have to. You have to. Because we share this world with everybody. And the same way we had to be patient with those toddlers back there, it's the same patience we have to have with our golden year late adulthood seniors. You have to do that. And when we're talking about the mental, we have to listen to what they're saying. We have to try to make sense of where they're going and have conversations that you may or may not be interested in, but hey, let's talk about it. Because they need that as well. And there's going to come a time where if you aren't already there, you're going to need it. And just think about how frustrated you may have been or how helpless you may feel when you can't do something for yourself that you've always been able to do. If you've ever had any kind of injury, hurt your leg and you couldn't walk, and now you got to learn how to get around in a wheelchair on one of them little scooter things. I don't know what that feels like, or on some crutches. Or your arm is broken and now you can't do the job that you were once doing, or you can't care for your kids like you were once doing. If you've experienced that, the frustration that you had, and that was for a temporary time period. Late adulthood, people are living to be 100 years old, some 100 plus, but the average lifespan that they're giving us now in today's society is that you're going to make it to about 80. Now, like I said, I'm blessed to have both of my grandmothers who are in their 80s on that other side of it. And they get around good. Look, one of them still drive, My husband's grandmother, I can't remember her exact age, but I know if she wasn't 100, she was past 100, but sharp as a whip. Sharp as a whip when she transitioned. She knew those couple of days before her birthday, and she had some money, and my grandma, Henrietta, they asked for her money, and she said, no, I ain't got time. 100 plus. And so it's a blessing to make it there, but it is also a blessing to be able to interact with someone there, and they're there, and if you have access to anyone that's in that late adulthood or in the golden age, as I like to call it, take advantage of that. Learn some stuff, spend some time, hear some things, do some things with them so that you can learn how to maneuver when it's your time to get there, if you're blessed to make it there. But remember, they're there and they have set their boundaries. They went back to the basic of what worked for them, and it does not have to accommodate you. By no means. It doesn't have to accommodate you. So when we're talking about our mental health, and we're talking about having those conversations and having those memories and doing those things to help, there's so many different things to be able to do in that phase. Word puzzles to help keep their mind sharp. They have their TV shows that they're gonna watch, and certain stuff you ain't gonna be able to do at their house that you do at your house. You have to respect the boundaries that they have set in this era or in this part of their lives. And if you aren't there yet, the best you could do is hope and pray and look forward to getting there, and then you'll be able to see. There's empathy and sympathy. You can't empathize with someone when you haven't experienced it or gone through it, but you can always sympathize because you can imagine what it might feel like. So if you've never had to depend on anybody, once you became an adult, to do the basic needs, your basic daily, we call them activities of daily living in the clinical sense of it. So, you'll hear us say ADL. So your activities of daily living skills, getting up, knowing which medications to take, knowing, trying to do some exercise to work and move your limbs. They have to try to learn to work these cell phones that we use today. They have to try, to remember the doctor's appointment and put things on the calendar and all of those things, because you got to remember, you have matured to this point. You have made it here, and some of the stuff that used to cause you stress and anxiety, that's different now. You still have the stress and anxiety, but it's different now, because it is different things that get on their nerves, as they say, or have them ornery, or, like my colleague was saying, they being mean. No, they're not being mean. They're struggling with whatever it is they're struggling with, and because of the way that they were raised and the way that they made it through these phases, they handle their stuff completely different. So you got to learn, educate yourself, and be a part of that process, because trust me, it's a beautiful thing. So with that being said, and having gone back to basics, remember, we're leaving out the because on Real Talk Therapy, we don't do what everybody else is doing. You go back to basics for what makes sense for you, but be respectful to others, be mindful, but say what you mean and mean what you say. You don't have to bend, your boundaries. You don't have to break them, but you also don't have to do today what you did 10 years ago, because it could definitely cause you to be stuck in some errors and stuck with some things that we're gonna, move into later on in the channel and in the sessions. And like I said, I think I said it yesterday, and if I didn't, one day this week, had a colleague talk about, like I tell you guys, let the weekend be all about self and self-care and how to do that. And so next week's interventions will be self-care, self-love, and we're going to go through some different strategies and coping skills that you can use to relate and help yourself get back to loving yourself, loving who you are, and knowing what it takes for you to be okay, what your self-care would look like, and how to get your mind back at a place where you're not losing sleep, you're not having headaches, you're not stressed, you're able to maneuver. And even when something looks like it's out of whack and it looks bad, you can learn different ways to look at it and continue to go through these uncharted waters that you're out there in. And then you can learn some resources to put on your boat so that you don't have to go through these things alone. So please continue to like, comment, share, subscribe, and look for all of the different things that are coming down the pike. And we are, like I said, finishing up some things when it comes to making this thing official, making it a brand. And so there may be some minor changes coming down pretty soon, but not too much. We're still real talk therapy. We're still having conversations that we need to have, but just having them in a real way. Because if we don't talk about it in a real way, we'll continue to put stuff under the rug or sweep it under the rug and kind of go past it and not deal with it. And then later on in life, when it hits you like a ton of bricks, you down there and you don't know how to start at least take off the bricks that you can reach and remove. Then you have the resources to help you get the rest of that stuff off of you. So stay tuned, be blessed, be safe, enjoy yourself, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.